and welcome to Talk Free. The world has drastically changed in 1 year. आदतें बदल गई, काम करने का तरीका बदल गया, सोचने का तरीका बदल गया. So definitely we have to rewind to redefine.
जैसे चीजें पहले होती थी, चाहे वो काम करने का तरीका हो या फिर करियर ऑप्शंस, सब बदल गए हैं. The concept of work from home was extremely little in India, but now it's everywhere.
Correct. And even career options भी change हो रहे हैं. The careers which were at its peak until a couple of years ago are now experiencing a downfall, and others जिसके बारे में हमने कभी सुना नहीं था वो grow कर रहे हैं, and उनका graph is rising exponentially.
ये सब चेंजेस हो पाया है कोविड के कारण. As change is the only thing which is constant. और जो इस चेंज को नहीं अपनाएगा वो धीरे धीरे लुप्त हो जाएगा. अब ऐसा टाइम आ गया है जहां पर आप पूरी दुनिया पर छा सकते हो. आप कहीं भी रहकर किसी भी कंट्री के लिए काम कर सकते हो.
इसको ही तो बोलते हैं ग्लोबलाइजेशन. अपना फ्यूचर परफेक्ट करने के लिए पहले पास को देखिए, रिवाइंड करिए और फिर सोचिए क्या करना है. And to discuss this, we have an amazing guest with us.
We have with us Krishan Misra. He is the head of North and East India for ACCS and is responsible for business development in the North and East India markets, working closely with the large enterprises and education providers in the regions. Recently, he has been awarded as top 100 global leaders in the field of education by Global Forum of Education and Learning USA. He has got over 17 plus years of extensive experience in business development, experience of managing education business, channel partners, corporate and direct sales teams. He has been the chairperson of Asia Pacific Bank Assurance and Alternative Channel Distribution Conference held at Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and a speaker at various national and international forums. He grew up in a defense services family and has attended several schools across India before completing his international business studies from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade and PGDBM from Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India, Ahmedabad. He is a fellow member of Chartered Management Institute UK and a fellow of the Institute of Leadership and Management UK. We welcome you to Talk Free, sir.
Thank you so much, Sanjay, for a warm welcome and wonderful introduction. I look forward to a very interactive session. Thank you once again. Yeah.
What an impressive profile, sir. And you are such a dynamic person with such amazing visions. Well, my first question is, the equation of demand and supply of local candidates has changed. The concept of relocation for job is also changing. How big an opportunity this can be for everyone?
Thank you so much, Preeti, for asking a very, very relevant question, considering the current situation also, which is prevailing across the world. Interestingly, if you look at the current situation globally, you will find that there are no boundaries anymore. You can work for any organization which is present across the world. In fact, I can quote an example here that one of my friends, a very good friend of mine, he is based in Delhi and he's currently managing the operations of a US-based organization, which he has never seen or visited in life. Right? So why he's able to do it? Because of the virtual opportunity which is there. In fact, if I talk about my organization also, which is truly global, wherein my boss sits in Dubai, right? His boss is in Oman. His boss, she is in Australia, right? And she doesn't manage Australia, right? And my boss's boss, who is in Oman, doesn't manage Oman. He manages India, right?
Oh my God.
And his boss, who is in Australia, she manages rest of the world other than Australia and New Zealand. And her boss sits in London. So practically, we are living in a world which doesn't have any boundaries. We are looking forward to opportunities across the world. In fact, India is growing. Most of the jobs which were there in markets like Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and US have been shifted to India. Why it is happening? Because obviously we are growing as a country. We are growing as an economy. We have given a lot of opportunities to various organizations across the world to come and see our country. The good thing with Indians is that we are very ambitious, passionate, and we can speak the language whichever is required across the world, right? So we can speak fast with an American or say, for example, a British, and we can speak very slowly with a Singaporean or a Chinese, right? So because we know how to speak slowly also. And wherever required, we are able to mold ourselves, and we are very, very adaptable people. So in fact, you can see the current situation after COVID. Practically what has happened is the teachers who are teaching in schools, look at the way in which they have adopted to the newer changes. Now, these teachers are actually not only teaching in their own countries now. Preeti, you'll be amazed to hear about this thing,
Yes.
that they are teaching across the world,
World.
right? Yeah, they might be staying here. And I know of a Hindi teacher who is based in India and teaching for students who are in Singapore, right?
Oh,
So that's what is happening. So scenario is changing, opportunities are increasing. In fact, COVID has brought in more opportunities. Let's look at the positive side of COVID. COVID
correct.
talks about COVID positive. Let's look at the positive side here, right? And it
Right.
was like, if you remember, people used to say before Christ and after Christ. It has changed to now before COVID and after
COVID
COVID,
to
right?
after
So
COVID.
right, that's the new thing which is there. But opportunities, I can tell you, definitely are increasing. A lot of banks are coming up to India. A lot of other organizations, financial services sector is growing. If you look at the other manufacturing sector and services sector, a lot of growth is there. In fact, if you look at the segment I belong to, which is in the field of finance and accountancy, I can tell you that we have got more jobs and less number of people to apply to those jobs. And we know the areas in which people are required. It is financial reporting, which is IFRS, right? We have very less number of people who understand IFRS in our country. And the requirement is huge. It is estimated that we need at least 500,000 new financial reporting professionals by 2025. And how many do we produce? Hardly 25 to 30,000 in a year. Do you
Right.
think we'll be able to fulfill that demand? No, it's very, very difficult. If you look at the other thing, which is audit and assurance, another very, very important field that is being studied by the professional accountants. Audit jobs are increasing now. Why it is increasing? Previously, auditors were considered to be like a doctor who is doing a postmortem, right? Now auditors have become wellness experts. They tell the
Correct.
organization that how you should not go wrong, right? So that's the way in which their jobs are transforming. And that's the reason why there is a huge requirement for internal auditors. Look at the banking fiascos like Yes Bank, PNB, and the other various other banks wherein a lot of issues have come up in between. Now, what these issues have done is that they have created more jobs and opportunities for the auditors in the field, right? I can quote for an example that one of the private banks in India has got at least 100 clusters across the country, and each cluster has at least 15 to 20 odd branches.
Okay.
They need at least one internal auditor in each of the clusters, right? Think
OPG.
of a bank like State Bank of India. How many branches State Bank of India has in the country? Around 27,500 plus branches. How
Correct.
many people do they require for financial reporting and the other activities that they're doing? So practically, there's a huge requirement for finance and accounts professionals. The jobs are very close to us. The jobs are in Calcutta, the jobs are in Gurgaon, the jobs are in Noida, in Jaipur, in Chandigarh, in Lucknow, in places like Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Chennai, Trivandrum, Kochi. These are the places where jobs are flourishing. And smaller cities, the tier two cities are also creating a lot of jobs for people. Because of COVID, what has happened is you can be anywhere and work virtually for anyone,
Anyone.
right? And you can be paid in dollars, you can be paid in pounds. Don't worry about just earning rupees while you are staying in India, right? So that's the way in which the opportunities are increasing for all of us.
Sir, as you said, that career options have changed. So, sir, what new is being asked for by the industry?
Okay, great question again, Sanjay. The career options have changed, and in fact, the job descriptions have also changed,
Right.
right? There are new job descriptions which have been written for people now after COVID. So what has happened is people have to look beyond the normal. So previously, people used to say that, okay, you need to be good in presentation skills, you need to have technical knowledge, right? Technical knowledge and presentation skills and ethical skills. These are a given for employer. He feels that if you have done a good qualification, right, maybe a professional qualification, you know all these things, right? So whatever technical topics are there, you have a sound knowledge about all those topics, and you are ethical, and obviously you are good at presentation skills, etc. So that's a given thing which a organization is looking forward from you. But the new things are something which we should actually know about. Number one is that organizations need entrepreneurs for the future. They need entrepreneurial skills. Now, I'm not talking about entrepreneurial skills, I'm talking about entrepreneurial skills. Now, when we say entrepreneurial skills, it means that you need to work with an organization and you can behave like an entrepreneur there, right? So you can actually work on the P&Ls of the organization. right? Apply your entrepreneurial thinking and execute like an entrepreneur. That's what is the organizations are looking for. They also need people who can business partner. When I say business partner, they don't want people to just work in silos, right? So previously people used to work in silos that, okay, if I'm a finance person, my job is to take care of my accountancy numbers and it's done. If I'm a marketing guy, my job is to prepare the communication and the advertisement and branding related activities and my job is done, right? If I'm a sales guy, I'll ensure that my top line is achieved. My job is done. Now you can't do that. You have to work together, right? For example, if the Lucknow territory of a FMCG company is not working well, instead of the finance manager saying that, okay, let's close down this territory because it is not earning profits for us, what the finance manager will do is that he will sit with the marketing manager, he'll sit with the operations manager, he'll sit with the supply chain manager, he'll sit with the HR manager. All of them together will take a decision which is good for the location. They will decide that whether to increase the number of distributors or reduce it, or to increase the number of people or to reduce it, or transfer people to some other location or get some other people to do that particular job. So that's the way in which people are actually looking at the newer things. So you need to business partner, which is the next step towards your growth. The third thing is that you also need to learn a new thing, which is very, very important for all of us, that you need to learn that, about being a co-pilot, right? When you're flying a plane, right? So, and you might be knowing that there is one person who is a pilot, there is another person who is a co-pilot. Now, don't think that co-pilot is junior to the pilot, right? So both have the equal kind of a responsibility and the level is also remains the same. Only thing is that co-pilot just supports the pilot at that time. Wherever there is a requirement, he is sitting on the pilot seat. That's interesting, right? So being a pilot is very, very interesting. You're flying it yourself. Being a co-pilot is more tough because you are trying to manage the risk there. And then you should also know that how it is for the passengers who are sitting at the back. So you need to know about you being a passenger too. So sometimes you might see that the co-pilots are coming and sitting at the back, right? While you are in the aircraft. In the similar way, when you are a finance manager or the CEO or the CFO, or say the CMO of the organization or the marketing head, HR head, whosoever you are, you need to be a co-pilot, you need to be a pilot, and you also need to be a passenger. That's the new skill which is required for the future. The other skills, like for example, which is emotional skill, very, very important because nowadays people don't work in silos. They work with teams and each person's emotions and thought process, everything is unique, right? So you need to understand how people behave, what they require and how do we actually support them. So that's another skill which is required. And if you are good at emotional skills, mind you, you will be very well be able to reach the senior positions within the organization, be a leader within the organization. So it's very easy for you if you're very strong at emotional skills. And finally, very, very important, you need to be creative and innovative. You can't just be saying that, okay, I'll be doing the processes as it has been defined. And interestingly, I'll quote an example here that there was an article which was published in the year 2008 in the Hindu, which said that we are very creative till the age of 5. And our creativity goes down with the increase in our age, right? So by the time we touch the age of 30, we are zero in terms of our creativity, right? And why this happens is because of our education system, thanks to the
Education
education
system.
system.
That is what I was going to say. At the emotional part and the creativity part, the schools don't teach. That is
Correct,
the
correct.
last thing that the school would want to teach. So emotional, having an emotional balance and being creative all throughout your life, that is something which the schools and colleges must imbibe in the students so that that can be carried forward in their professional careers.
That's right. That's right. Very, very important for all of us to ensure that we tell our children that you should always say yes to what they are asking for instead of telling them no. Because by the time you say no, their creativity is lost. And that's what happens for all of us. So we need to ensure that we do not lose on our creativity. We need to sharpen ourselves and ensure that creative bent of mind is always there. So as I mentioned, entrepreneurship, business partnering, being a co-pilot, and then obviously emotional skills, and finally the creativity and innovation is something which is the need for the future. If you have all these skills with you, you are the right fit for the future employment.
A lot of importance is being given to vocational training, and there has always been a debate which is more important, a professional degree or a vocational training minus the degree, meaning you don't have that degree. So which is more important, having a degree or knowing what to do? Because corporates, they generally look for degrees.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very relevant question, Preeti. Let me talk about the vocational professional education and why there is a difference between both of them. Number one is that vocational is something which is inherent to all of us. This is a skill which is automatically there and we learn it at home only, majority of the things, right? For example, you will learn from your father that how to repair your bulb or the electric short circuit which has happened, right? You might learn from your mother that how to cook food for your family. That's another skill, right? And that's considered to be a vocational skill. Vocational skills are very, very basic, and these are, as I mentioned, these are inherent to us. However, in professional, what happens is you need to go through a program, which is a very, very long-term program. Vocational programs are slightly short-term in nature, right? And the professional courses actually test your ability, and the rigors of the professional course is also slightly higher than the normal. So let me start with the vocational subjects first. Vocational has its own importance and very, very respected field, which one can actually look forward to pursuing while they are in school, right? When it comes to professional, you can't think about a professional course before you 10+2, right? Except barring a few, wherein the ACCA qualification, which I represent, there is an opportunity for people to actually start in class 11th and 12th only. Otherwise, very, very rarely you'll find a qualification which can be pursued before your 12th, whether it is in the field of hotel management or say medicine or dental sciences or say engineering. Think about any course in the world. It is after the 10+2 only, not before 10+2. Now, vocational subjects are very, very specific to a particular skill, right? So you can be an artist, so it can be on painting. You can be a housekeeper, so it could be in hotel management. You can be a chef, which is related to the cooking of particular food. So I'm not saying that full-fledged chef. I'm talking about a chef in a particular area, right? You can be doing plumbing. You can be doing electrician's work. So a lot of things are there in banking sector, bookkeeping, etc., which is for the accountant. So basic jobs are there. And these are meant for you to prepare yourself to get into a job immediately that. Very, very short term, 6 months to 1 year. And now we have started courses like BVOC, which is Bachelor of Vocational Studies, right? This is being offered by a lot of colleges across the country under the guidance of National Skill Development Corporation, NSDC. And these BVOC courses are also being offered by certain skill universities which have been recently launched, which is the agenda for the government of India to skill the entire country, all the people across the country, and they are working well towards it to ensure that everybody gets that employment. Now, if you look at the professional course, there is a flip side to it. Professional course are long term, as I mentioned. You need to go through various subjects there, pass all the examinations. The rigor is high, right? You need to put in a lot of effort towards it. The time scale is also long. It is somewhere between, say, 3 years to 5 years, or sometimes more than that if people fail, right? Because obviously people fail also in professional courses because of the high rigor. But professional courses bring in a lot of new things for you. Number one, they give you a lot of flexibility to prepare yourself. You can be working, then also you can pursue a professional course, right? You can actually look forward to a lot of support from the professional organizations because these are membership organizations. So they give you a lot of support in terms of your membership. They also give you a lot of continuous professional development related certificates and other programs throughout your life. So you become alumni for life. You don't leave that organization immediately after completing the course. You remain with that organization throughout your life. And you also carry a professional designation, right? So in case you have done a CA, you write CA before your names. If you've done ACCA, you write ACCA after your names. If you have become a doctor, you write doctor before your name. So like this, you are able to use a professional designation also in a professional course, which is not there in the vocational and the other academic qualification. Now, if you look at both these courses, both have their own importance, and I'm sure we would like to behave professionally rather than behaving unprofessionally, right? So whether we do a vocational course or we do a professional course, it is more about our behavior and the mindset, so that we should behave professionally for the long term and ensure that we not only become good professionals, we also become good persons for the long term. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, but sir, suppose a company is there who wants, there are two people, not with a degree, another one with a degree. The company would definitely want to employ the one with the degree. So how far is it justified? Maybe the one without the degree has more experience, has more other benefits associated, like he is multitasker, he's a good leader, but not having that degree. So is that justified?
So, Preeti, practically, we live in a world wherein education plays a very important role in our careers, right? You can get a job very easily. And I would like to quote an example here that there's a difference between a job and a career, right? Most of the people, they feel that jobs and careers are similar. They are not. You might get a job without a degree also,
Right.
but you cannot make a career without a degree in the long term. So it is important for you to get a good education to ensure that you are able to grow to the next level, because there are certain eligibility criteria which have been defined by the organizations as well as the government in a lot of jobs. The other thing is that, say for example, Preeti, you meet someone today and this person says that, you ask him that, what do you do? And the person says that, I'm an executive, say, finance and account with XYZ company. 15 years down the line, you meet him again and ask him, what do you do? And he says that I'm executive finance and accounts with the same organization. Can you tell me whether it is a career for him or a job?
Job.
It's a job. Why it's a job? Because a career will give you progression, right? And don't confuse career with money, because money is short term. So yeah, salaries are short term. Your designations, your promotions, your all the things that you get, all these are short term goals. These are
Short-term.
not long term. Career is long term, which actually ensures that you progress further and move ahead in the corporate ladder, right? And actually, you're able to create more careers for the rest of the world, right? So it's about creating more career opportunities for people. When you look forward to a good career yourself, you do that. The second thing is that professional courses, academic qualifications, these are basic in nature. We need to have that to grow within the organization, right? So there are certain steps from one level to another. I can quote an example here that for professional accountants, if you have not done a professional accountancy course and you join a very important, say, accountancy firm or a consulting firm, you might be able to join them with an academic qualification, but you will not be able to grow to the next level without a professional qualification. So that's a challenge. And the other thing is that, which is really very important for us to understand, that when it's like when you see people running in the races, right? And when people run in the race, so you might be a good runner, say 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, 800 meters, very good at that skill, right? However, when you're running the life race, right, which is long, right? So you are actually running a marathon, and you are not only running a marathon, you are actually running a relay race kind of a marathon, wherein you need to pass on the baton to someone else later on.
Someone else.
And you can't be passing on a baton which is slightly lower, right? So you have to pass on the baton which is higher, so that people are able to grow further with that. That's what is about creating careers and the long term for people.
Okay.
So how can one future-proof their career? There is so much of uncertainty around.
Okay, very, very interesting question again, Sanjay. Future proofing your career. Um, So what is important for someone to actually, first of all, look forward to good career by ensuring that they have good qualifications. And then they should also look at sometimes relearning and sometimes unlearning. So you have learned through your academic qualification, you have learned through your professional qualification, and then later on, you need to keep on relearning the newer things which come in front of you. And then sometimes you have to unlearn and then relearn. Now, I'll talk about all these factors. Learning, relearning, and unlearning to future-proof your career is really very important. So learning is something which you are right now doing. You will be doing it further, right? You might get into some courses regularly and then look forward to getting into the job. When you get into the job, you need to keep on growing in terms of your skill sets. You have to look at learning newer things, because obviously technology is changing, advancements are happening. If you look at the technology in terms of, say, in the field of accountancy, also you see blockchain coming up, big data is there, right? So you have a lot of newer things which are coming up regularly: artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all these are tools, mind you. These are not something which you're supposed to code or write yourself. I don't want you to become a coder. What I want you to do is that to learn these tools and use them towards your benefit. And to do that, you need to keep on relearning regularly. And then obviously you have to unlearn. Now, when we talk about learning, I will talk about empathy here. A lot of people talk about empathizing with people, right? And it is said that if you want to empathize with someone, or if you want to understand someone, then what you have to do is that you have to put yourself in the shoes of that person, right? And when you try and do that, first of all, what you have to do is that you have to actually remove your shoes. Otherwise, you will not be able to enter into the shoes of the other person. That's really very important. Most of the times, we try to enter into the shoes without removing our own shoes. And when I'm talking about shoes, which are learnings or the experiences that we have, right? So if you are not able to remove them from your head, then obviously you will not be able to relearn further and future-proof your career. Let me quote an example here, Sanjay, which is really very important. If you've seen a movie of Amitabh Bachchan called Main Azad Hoon, this movie came long time back in the year 80s. And in this movie, Amitabh is speaking to a lot of people, a good set of people in a cinema theater. I'm sure the other people might have watched that movie. And if not, please go and watch that. It's a very good movie on leadership. Uh, in this movie, Amitabh Bachchan is talking to a large set of people. And then what he says is that there are a lot of people who are asking him that, okay, how to become a good leader and what all things we should do. And he says that there is a lot of pressure on all of us. And Amitabh Bachchan is talking to these people and says that, मैं आपसे एक कहानी सुनाता हूँ. मैं एक बार ट्रेन में सफर कर रहा था. So I was in a train. मैं एक ट्रेन में सफर कर रहा था और मैं एक बर्थ पे जाके बैठा और मेरे बगल में एक आदमी बैठा हुआ था. तो मैंने उसको देखा कि उसने अपना सामान अपने सर पे रखा हुआ है. तो मैंने उससे पूछा कि भैया आपने सामान क्यों सर पे रखा? तो उसने कहा कि मेरा सामान है, आपको क्या तकलीफ है? तो मैंने उससे कहा कि भाई आप इस सामान को रख दीजिए नीचे, कोई आपका सामान लेके नहीं जाएगा. ट्रेन भी आगे जा रही है ना, सामान भी आपका साथ में ही जा रहा है और हम भी साथ में ही जा रहे हैं, तो कहीं कोई डिफरेंस नहीं आएगा, आपको नुकसान नहीं होगा. तो कहता कि नहीं, मुझे अपना सामान अपने सर पे ही रखना है. And practically that saman is your experience, your learnings, right? You keep on carrying them on your head, right? Which keeps on pushing you below because you are not able to take the right decisions. Whenever you take a decision, always your experience and learnings come on your head and you're not able to take the right decisions. Because if you want to future-proof things, you have to come up with newer ideas, newer thoughts, keep on innovating, using those creativity-related aspects for yourself, and then only you will be able to do that. So for this, you have to remove that saman from your head. Once you're able to do it, you are going to be very, very successful and you'll be able to relearn and future-proof your career. So always remember, learning is very important. Relearning is most important, but unlearning is the foremost thing for all of us. Once we unlearn, we can definitely relearn.
Unlearning is the most difficult also, so that is why it becomes all the more important.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, wow. What a beautiful concept this has been. Such an informative session. I'm sure our viewers will rewind their educational and career life, introspect and redefine. Thank you so much, Krishan sir, for being a part of Talk Free. We have learned so much and so will our viewers learn so much from this session.
Thank you so much, Preeti and Sanjay, for inviting me. It has been a pleasure speaking to both of you, and I look forward to getting good feedback for the future. Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely, sir. A complete futuristic approach. Learn, unlearn, and relearn. Simply wow. Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of Talk Free. Well, viewers, as you know, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Talk Free, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. See you next Friday with a fresh new topic. Until then, it is me, Sanjay, Kisan sir, and PM signing off.
And remember to talk free.